All right. Well, welcome everybody to MVP Office Hours. My name is Jared Kingston. I'm a solution architect, Salesforce MVP with Aperio. I'm joined today by one of my co-leaders, Dale Ziegler. Dale, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. Dale Ziegler, Salesforce Practice Lead at the Claris Group. And welcome.
Awesome. And my fearless local user group leader as well. And then we also are helped out by Jackie Treviso, who unfortunately is not able to join us today. She helps keep Dale and I in line and organized as usual. So we thank her for that. If you're new to the MVP Office Hours, make sure you're following us on Twitter. That's one of the main places where we post all of our recordings, links to our recordings, as well as updates on sessions and the like. So definitely follow us there. You can get to the Success Community page where we also post things just by going to mvpofficehours.info. So definitely check that out. And we usually have events over to the right, but given that we are now exactly a month away from the biggest technology conference of the year, Dreamforce, I felt it was fitting to just leave that there because I'm sure we're all focusing on that about now. So Dreamforce coming up November 6th, and we are looking forward to meeting you guys out there. We have some cool things planned, so stay tuned there. You'll be seeing some more info about that. But we're really excited about what's going to be happening at Dreamforce in general, but also specifically for the office hours. So stay tuned there. Look forward to meeting a lot of people out there. All right. So if this is your first time, just kind of, and if you've been here before, refresher. First and third Friday is when we hold these. It's really an open Q&A discussion. Very much a answers live type deal. So, we'll try to answer questions or point you in the right direction. So no question is too big or is too small. We're here to help. No matter the level you are at, we're going to do our best to try to do that. We record these and we post them again out to community and Twitter. And I actually should update that to say YouTube, because as Dale and I were talking before the call, we actually post these out to YouTube to make it really easy for you to subscribe to the recordings. So definitely go to our YouTube channel that's posted. The link to that is on our Twitter account. So go out there, subscribe. That way you'll get notified for every recording. So if you miss, you can, watch it over the weekend, while you're sipping your Saturday morning coffee. You can check it out. Because this is live and, we're over the phone, right? We just ask that you mute your lines if you're not talking. That way we can hear the answers and questions really easily. If you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand in the meeting. You can post in the chat, or a lot of times we will just ask for questions if we have open airspace. So whenever you do answer a question or ask a question, we just ask you to announce yourself. We just, we can obviously see in the meeting who you are, but it's good to identify yourself that way. And, everyone's welcome to share experiences. We have MVPs on this call to try to help out. But even if you're not an MVP and you've had experience with a certain problem that's being brought up, please, this is the community. We want you to share that experience and help out that you can. That's what we're about here. So with that all being said, yeah, go ahead.
And actually, if I may just throw in there, looking at the participant list, we have a handful of brand new, newly minted, freshly crowned MVPs on here as well. So definitely welcome to them as well. And it's
Yes.
Nice to have you on board.
Good call out, Dale. Thanks for that. Yeah, welcome. excited to meet and hang out with you all at Dreamforce. And yeah, please, like we tell all the other MVPs, don't be shy, right? Like share your experience, whether it's, no matter what, right? We're here to help. So with that being said, let's move to the questions. I'll try to keep track of any resources we call out, any links, things like that here, and we'll post them later out to the group. So with that being said, I know Ajit was all over it to start with, getting his question into the chat and his hand raised. Ajit, you want to speak your question, or I can cover it?
Sure. Hello?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what is the criteria for getting top listed on AppExchange homepage. We see a number of applications that appear on the home screen whenever we visit appexchange.salesforce.com, irrespective of the number of reviews they've got. So I was just curious to know what special do they do in order to get their applications listed over there.
That is a great question. I personally don't know. I don't know if anybody on the call has any idea. If not, I would say that the best person to answer that is really the AppExchange themselves. So I would just see. We could certainly help you. Connect you to them on Twitter. They're really fast. Actually, I know the person I think runs that account. So they're really fast at responding. So they would be the best person to ask. I'm not entirely sure how those are shown there. I'm sure it's a lot of different factors.
Okay. So you want me to refer to a specific person who will be the best to answer this question, right?
Yeah, and I'll just post
Mm-hmm.
their Twitter handle in the I'll post a link to their Twitter page there, and I would just mention them on and just ask that question to them on Twitter. They should be able to give you an answer there. So
okay. Great. If you can share my screen, because I could show you in a better way if you could have shared the screen. There is an option to share a screen, right?
unfortunately, only for the panelist.
Okay, only for the panelists. Okay, no problem. Actually, this was something which I could have shown you in a better way. It's a technical question related to the application on the listing side. It's related to the listing on AppExchange.
Jared, we can't hear the questioner.
Yeah, could you, Ajit, can you speak up there? We couldn't quite hear that.
Yes, I had an issue with the trial org application. We have decided to create a trial org for an application, but we are not able to submit the review for that template. The template needs to be approved before getting further with this procedure, right? So we need to get that template submitted for review first. So there is an issue while submitting the review of that template.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to help out there, I think it's best to work with the AppExchange team directly there on that issue, because they're gonna be the ones who know that process the best as far as like submitting applications. Unless there's if we have any other ISV partners on the phone that have maybe experienced potential issues there, I would say they're the best person to work with the AppExchange.
Okay.
Sorry, we couldn't answer that one. Unfortunately, that's one of those things that it's a little out of our purview.
Absolutely fine, no problem. I will look into it.
Awesome. All right. So who else has a question? I see a lot of people on the phone. Just let's hear them. Not also just calling on names or, asking questions to the audience. Nobody has a question. All right.
Jared?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, easy. Hey, good afternoon. It's Rob Kaplan in New Hampshire.
Hey, Rob.
This would be a question that might show up on my certification test on Saturday. And I'm a little confused by the resource I've got online, which is actually Focus on Force, which I'm generally recommending. Hopefully I can find this question. But the bottom line of the question is that you can't use date functions in a filter, a lookup filter. So I believe the use case is roll up the amount of all opportunities set to close this year. So there's no way in the filter criteria of a lookup to be able to say current year, this year, month, something like that. So you'd have to manually code in like January 1 to 12/31. Is that right?
I believe so, and I've even tried to do workarounds like on the when you're talking about a roll-up summary.
Yes.
I've even tried on the child object. You try to trick it with a formula checkbox field that, if true, if this year, it's smart enough to know that that's what you're trying to do. But a static date, I believe you can.
Yes, I agree. You can with a static date.
Yeah.
It's just not dynamic. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Good enough. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Dale. All right. And Mark, I saw you posted a question in the chat. When using Service Console, we have instances when users work on the same case and you want to prevent that. And there's obviously the refresh setting that you can change within the console, but doesn't seem to be working the best for you. Anything else you want to add to that question, Mark?
Okay. No, not really. I think that most of the time what we see is, that they'll open up the case, and if you have a lot of cases open with a lot of users in there, and they're opening up the case, and before they, they'll edit it, and then sometimes they'll, then they'll assign it to themselves. But then someone else is also doing it at the same time, so they want to prevent that. The way that they're currently doing is people kind of just scatter through the cases, on the left-hand panel, so that it'll have a lower probability of them working on something that someone else is working on. So how would you best do that? Because normally there's like a refresh that would say, okay, it'll refresh that panel when someone, might change, might move it to open, instead of new. But they're doing all that at once. So they'll move it to open, change records, and someone else is doing it. How would you prevent that?
That's a good question. And what you're saying is the settings within the console, like choose how a detailed page refreshes, the automatically refresh isn't working like you'd hope.
Well, like if you have if there's a lot of cases that's there, and you have in the service console where, on that left-hand on the panel, where you have that list of cases where it said, I forgot all of the different options, but one you could have like a refresh, right? And that doesn't even seem to work great, right? It's not really refreshing. If someone were to, for example, if you had a list view of all new cases that came in, right? And if someone were to switch it to open, that case should then disappear. It doesn't happen, So two people could all of a sudden be working on the same case, and all of a sudden they're entering data, and then they can't save it because someone else is also working on it, So it's like a waste of time, and you want to make it more efficient for them. I'm trying to think of, I really couldn't think of a way to best handle that.
Do you also have the setting, choose how lists refresh. Do you have that?
Yeah,
set?
that's what I was talking about. That choose
Okay.
how list refresh, where
Okay.
you can refresh it. It's inside of that in the settings, but that doesn't really work.
And what is that set to right now? Is it refresh the list or list rows?
I tried all the different settings. So
Okay.
there's different ones, right, where it kind of like highlights and refresh the list. So and I was just manipulating it through it and then looking at on two different browsers, seeing if one's refreshing. I don't know what is the speed at which that thing's supposed to refresh, right? It just doesn't seem to refresh like within like 15 or 30 seconds. I don't know what the refresh is on that one.
Yeah, any other MVPs want to chime in here, or anybody for that matter who has experience in this area?
Yeah, this is Stuart. I don't have a direct answer to this question, but there may be ways for the long term to look at solving these types of issues up the line a little bit. So when cases are being created, you can put them in different queues based on criteria in the cases, or you can have a workflow rule that sets certain information on the case, and that may help to help designate which agents are working on which cases. But it doesn't help the direct question about when do the cases refresh. I don't know the answer to that specific question.
Yeah, we have that, with the case assignment rules and all that, and queues all set up. It's just when you have a lot of cases that's open, a lot of cases that come in, especially from the email or website, contact us forms, and they have a lot. So sometimes you got instances, well, a lot of times where if you're just going from the top down to the most recent, so everyone's choosing from the top, right, the most recent cases, then you're gonna have everyone's bumping into issues, so they have to kind of stagger it. But I wanted it to be a little bit more efficient versus just guessing and then checking to see if it's being worked on before they could actually edit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think. As I've run into this issue before, it's all done through the streaming API, is my understanding. So it's supposed to be, relatively quick from a refresh standpoint. But I have seen before where sometimes that's not the case, right? One other thing is that I had a question on is push notifications. Do you have those configured?
Yeah, I have all the the push notifications, like when you save it, like it'll push and say it's being edited, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have those push notifications set up, but it's more like the case list, right?
Yeah.
Where, because if two people are opening it, then the push notification happens when it's getting edited. And then you're saving, right? Once you click edit and the other person clicks edit, then you get the push. But I want it where, hey, that case should then disappear once it's being, like, the status gets removed, right? From new to open, or it's getting however way you're working on it, so that you don't have instances where so many users are opening up the same case at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Well, from your experience, which is for the refresh, which is the fastest that you've seen out of that list that's there?
The fastest time for it to refresh?
For it to refresh. So there's different options you can choose from.
The list refreshing the list rows is what I've used most often to refresh those. just because it does that one line. But I think in general, um, it hasn't been too much of a difference there. You certainly could, do refresh the list. I was trying to look up just some other things here because I haven't. So it's not. You're saying it's not working at all, right? Like it's not refreshing.
It's working too slow, right? So if
Okay,
you have
yeah.
if you imagine you have a lot of cases and you have a lot of, people working those cases, and each one's going from the top down, which is like work on the most recent. So someone gets it, then moves the status over, then from open, from new to open, it's still there. So someone else, and when they do it, they want to enter the data and not just go, put it to new to open, save, and then hit edit again, and then edit data, right? They're going to go ahead and edit it, change the status, enter whatever they're going to do, then save it. So someone else is doing the same thing, and they entered all this data. One person saves it. The other person can't save because or it'll because the other person did it.
Gotcha. So yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. So how are they picking up these cases in just a queue and they're just changing the status? Or are they assigning it to themselves?
They're picking it up from a queue.
Okay. Are they assigning it to themselves as soon as they pick it up?
No, right now, I'm gonna go ahead and create assign it to them like a button when they set it up and they change it, it gets assigned to them. They want to have as the least amount of clicks as possible, right? Because when you assign it to yourself, you gotta assign it, save it, then open it up again, right? You know how they complain, they want the least amount of.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually what I was going to recommend because that's where I think you could probably alleviate some of the issue there on the refresh time, because what you could do is while you assign it to self with a button there, or a lightning action, you could assign it to self and change the status at the same time to open or in progress or whatever your secondary status is there. But by doing that, I think that would alleviate some of the issue there, right? Because that way it removes it from the queue altogether, which in turn should update the list there.
I think the list will still be there, right? If it hasn't yet refreshed. So like it's the refresh on that list, because it's just like changing a status, right? So if I change a status and the list view is only set to new, and you change the status to open, and and it's still there, right? Because it hasn't refreshed and another person opened it.
Yeah, and yeah, well, yeah, and that's where I'm saying, like, if you change the setting in the console to refresh the list on how the list and test that some. And you also have I don't know if you've tried the standard accept feature within case list views. That one also works for just changing the owner to the current user.
Say that one more time.
It's the accept button. It comes standard, but I believe it's defaulted. I think it's defaulted to off. But yeah, there's a button there. Yeah, it's a standard button just called accept.
At the very top, where you check it off and click accept. Like change it to multiple.
Yeah, and then you obviously have the detailed page button where if you opened up a case, right, you could do the same thing as well.
Here's what they didn't like about that one. That was actually something I thought, I thought of and suggested. The thing is, when you accept it, then you have to go to your queue, right? Your my cases versus working on just one view. It's more for them. It's clicks. They want speed because they got so much going on. Where accept, go to your your list of my cases versus just working off the queue. Closing it. They're very fast. Basically the cases get closed right then. But then it's more like shoot out emails, fix up some kind of stuff that, from a product line item and then close it out. So it's more, they don't want to move, because right now they have a current system that's pretty efficient, and they moved over to Salesforce. So that's their comparison and complaint, right? It's like the other system did it so fast. And then, but Salesforce, you got to kind of manipulate, right?
Yeah, for sure. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm perplexed because sorry, this is Stuart again. So I'm looking at our settings, and we do have in the console app refresh list rows is set, and also automatically refresh is set for how detail pages refresh. But honestly, I haven't seen it refresh, so I must be also missing some setting here.
That's the same with me. So
It's not refreshing in Chrome, and I don't know if that's true in other browsers, but
Yeah. So one thing I had remembered, and now I was starting to remember this,
have that
is
manual refresh button. Have them manually refresh it every single time they pick a case.
well, so here's one thing to check, and I'm not sure if you checked it, but make sure they have read on the push topics object. Do they have that?
Read on the push top.
Yeah, there's an object called push topics.
Well, let me go see, because as an admin, right, you would think that I would have, because it doesn't work for me, right? So let me go look at the settings.
So I remember running into this before, and I was trying to get into my own console as well. Here.
Let me see first with the system admin, since it doesn't work, really that great for me. So if I don't have, if it's set for me. Yeah, I have read, create, edit, and everything on that one. So let me go look at their profile. They look okay.
read push topics has read permission. Okay, so
Yeah, thanks, Stuart, for posting that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is um, yeah, you have to make sure, and it sounds like, um, it's, it sounds like you, Mark, that you have that set up, but the push notifications, that's the clear one that you have to have that, set up on the fields in the console, for that object, so the case object in this standpoint. And it sounds like you've got that. So as long as you're monitoring those. And you verified that all the fields that are being edited are within that push notifications.
No, I haven't checked that one. So that's something I'd have to go ahead and I didn't configure any fields for the push notification, but I had it in. So that might be it.
Yeah, that may be.
yeah, that might be it, because it says that it pushes based on a trigger of a edit or a change to one of those fields inside the object. So I think you have to select which fields those are.
All right. So let me see if I have it clear. Once I select, let's say that the status would be the field. If the status gets changed, then if the status hasn't changed, then let me go back. If I select status to be the push notification and it gets changed, then everyone's list will get refreshed.
Yeah. So then it would refresh based upon your settings there, right? So you could either flag it, you could either flag the record, you could automatically refresh the record if somebody has it open, right? If somebody has it open in a tab in the console, you obviously can choose how that looks for them. And then on the list side, if it's just in a list for them, you can say, hey, just refresh that one row or refresh the entire row. But that's what will trigger that to actually happen within the list or the actual tab.
Okay. I'll give that a try. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you run into issues, definitely post back out. So awesome. And I will put this in the Andy. Awesome. All right. So that was fun. I like digging around like that. That's good stuff. All right. So, yeah, and thanks, Brian and Becca and Joanna for throwing some things out there. Like email to case premium from Internet Creations and that accept button. Those things are good. And then there's also a plugin, I guess, with Chrome that you can have things to refresh there. So, all right. Looks like, and I apologize if I butcher your name, but Kalyan You had a question on dynamic checkboxes in Flow. I have a collection of objects which gets populated by a fast lookup. How do I populate a screen with the checkbox input fields from the collection? Anything else you want to add to that?
Hey everyone. No, you didn't butcher my name.
Okay,
I go
awesome.
by Kalyan. Yeah.
Awesome.
So my use case is this. The flow screens, like when I design any flow, there is a screen, and then I can drag and drop the checkboxes and configure them and all. But for these use cases, I do not know what would be the checkbox text field would be, the name of the checkboxes and all these things. So they are dynamically created in an object. So I'm pulling those things in a collection and all. So now I have the names and all. But how do I populate that into a screen inside the flow to have those things? There is nothing I know that could do, but I know that there are a lot of things I don't know. So you guys have ever done that thing or any other way to do it?
So I just want to make absolutely sure I understand the question, because you threw a couple of very key words in there: dynamic and a collection of objects. So let's do the second question first. When you say a collection of objects, do you mean collection of records from a single object, or you're going across multiple objects?
Okay, my bad. There, collection of
no
records.
No worries. I just want to make
collection
absolutely
records
sure.
There. Yeah. So what I'm doing
Okay.
is I'm doing a first lookup, and there is in the flow you can have an object or a collection. So I'm getting number of records into a collection. And that collection would give me the text, the name. The text will give me a name to populate the checkbox names, kind of stuff. In the checkbox, you will have a name of the checkbox, right? What displays against the checkbox. So that text is coming from the record that I just did a first lookup from. So now I have the list of the text that needs to go against the checkboxes. How can I populate that? That's what I'm talking about. It's a dynamic.
So what you're trying to do is, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
So in the end, are you just trying to show a text field that shows all those values concatenated with each other, or are you actually trying to have like an input?
Let me give you an example, like how I'm doing it. Let's say that I have a object where I have got 3 records, which says that option 1, let's say that there are 3 records saying that is it Sunday, is it Monday, is it Tuesday? There are 3 records there, okay? And then you want to populate, I'm doing a lookup, so I'm getting 3 records. One is it Sunday, second says is it Monday, and third says it's Tuesday. And then when I'm trying to populate, those 3 records should come as 3 checkboxes field on the flow. In a flow screen, there you can drag and drop the checkboxes. So the first checkbox would say, is it Sunday? Is it Monday? Whatever it is. And then second option would be the second record. The third option would be third record. So there would be 3 checkboxes populated from those 3 fields from the object that I pulled from. It's not a text field, but it's a checkbox field I'm trying to populate on the flow.
So I'm looking in the chat, and Brian Fear threw in a dynamic choice element, but I'm wondering if that's even going to be sufficient enough for what you're looking for, like if you're extending beyond the bounds of that, because, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe a dynamic choice element only offers radio buttons. I don't know that you can toggle that to show checkboxes, like for multi-select.
And that dynamic choice that you're saying, that's the choices, right? I'm not even asking for the choices. It's like the name of the checkbox needs to be changed, or name of the field name. I'm trying to populate the name.
That's what I was. That's what I was afraid of when I read it. Is it sounds like you're needing to be dynamic on the metadata, not on the data, and
Right.
flow that you've just blown past the limit of flow on that.
So yeah, so I wonder. I wonder. Just a thought here. Go with me. If you could, and I'm just in flow now, trying to play around with this. Could you, on your screen, your screen element, add a display text that uses a a like a text template or formula, right? And so that would actually be populated by your list. So that would be dynamic in nature, and then your field name, you basically end up making your field name. You make it generic, right? So that would be that's a thought there. You make the text above the field generic.
Okay.
So that way, yeah, because as we're saying, you can't make the name of a field in Flow dynamic. You just only have the only dynamic option you have, frankly, is the dynamic
Value
choice
Okay.
and the values. But what you could do is you could put output text on your screen, and instead of like just type or display text, and then instead of actually typing text in, there's the select resource, and you could simply create a text template that has a formula in it that basically pulls from another place within Flow to populate the text.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
That'd be something to look
No,
at. That'd be
something
my
I can.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course I'm crippled here with the things that I can't use formula in my field. I'm using it for field service lightning, and there the flow cannot. That's the limitation there. You can't use the formula. I know that. I'm hoping that they bring the formula very soon there. Um, is there anyone here who can point me to some other? I'm trying to do it in another way also. Going in the mobile SDK way, if I can really do it that way. Is there anyone who can point me to a right direction where I get more information on the mobile SDK? I know I totally
You're,
changed that direction, but
and you're talking specifically because the field service mobile SDK?
I know that's not there yet, field service mobile SDK, but I was thinking that to go in the common, we have a Salesforce mobile SDK, right? And if I can use that to get my data and all these things, and because I can't even use a page or something, I could have gone for a custom page and do the thing that I'm asking through the flow, but I can't do that. So I was thinking that I can do it in mobile SDK way, but I don't know where to go right now for mobile SDK. I could not find much of information anywhere.
I just popped a link in the chat there, and I'll. That I think should get you what you need. I don't know if anybody else on the call, if we have, I'm trying to look at the participants list to see if any names stood out. If we have anybody who's well versed there.
Okay, I see that one. Okay.
Yeah. So this link should give you all the tools you need, like especially from the SDK. It says a lot of tools there around iOS, Android. So as well as some native building, etc. So that'd be something to look at.
Okay. Yep. This would be great.
Okay. Awesome.
This would be good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So moving on here, Joanna posted a question in Okay, in the chat here, so I'll just read it here. So having an issue where users are not able to edit dashboards they didn't create without the view all data permission. Saw an idea that said it's been resolved and delivered. And said they don't need all data, but then there's something else here recently that says they still need all data. So anybody want to chime in there?
And I'm chatting with Joanna in the chat here. It's
Okay.
not managed dashboards. The only other thing I can think of is folder permissions, and she just said there's editor rights to the folders. So I'm out of ideas. I'm tapping out.
All right. I feel like
Did
I
you turn it
ran
off
into-
and on again? That's supposed to be a joke.
What? Well, Becca just posted in the chat there. Do they have editor or manager status in the folder itself? Join all.
And
Sorry, you
Oh.
were on mute. I unmuted you.
sorry about that.
It's all right.
Yeah, they have editor rights to the report and dashboard folders where they're being stored, and the profile has managed dashboards permission set, and they can view the dashboard and they can even view the report, and they're not getting insufficient privilege errors or anything. But as soon as they click in to edit the dashboard, all of the components and data sources are grayed out. They can't add or edit anything once they're in there. It's just contradictory because they're saying it was resolved and delivered in 2014, but then it's very clearly still. I can't give my users view all data.
So wait, it's grayed out when you go to edit the dashboard, or it's grayed out on the dashboard itself?
It's only grayed out whenever they go to edit it, so they can click into it and they can view it. They have the edit, clone, and refresh buttons, but then as soon as they click edit, they can't add any additional components or edit any of the data sources.
What about the underlying reports? Do they have sufficient access to those?
Yep, they can click
Okay.
from the components into the reports, and it gives you the note saying that you clicked on the report via the dashboard component. Results may differ, but they can view the data and it looks correct. So it's just I don't understand why they can't add any additional components or edit the sources.
Can they edit the report once they've opened that source report?
I believe so. Let me just log in as her one more time to make sure. It does allow her to customize it. And it's not just one user or even one profile. It seems to be ongoing for everyone. So yes, it's allowing her to edit the report.
Let's see.
And it's one of those things you're just slamming your head up against the wall, because I know there's some checkbox somewhere, and it's not view all data, because I'm not going to do that.
Well, so I guess this comes to a business process question of, are there any individual users that you would trust with a view all data permission set?
Well, so we tried that. I actually tried to reassign all of the the running users of the dashboards to our API user, because we were having a lot of turnover and that was degrading some of our dashboards and reports. And so I tried assigning it to API, because API obviously has access to everything. And we were still running into the issue of actually the same issue where the users could view the dashboard, but then they wouldn't be able to edit it.
I don't feel good asking this question, but are they able to at least clone the existing dashboard, save it as their own, and modify from there. I mean, that's not an end-all be-all solution, but do they at least
Right.
have those capabilities? Like, is that a symptom of something of a bigger problem if they can't do that?
Right. The clone is there. I didn't try it. Let me give it a try.
Because
Yeah,
if they can't even do that, that's a bigger issue.
Right. Let's see. Clone. Save as. Test. Okay, so that seems to be working.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like this article from 2017 is as best as it's going to get, saying you got to do view all data,
Yeah.
which I will never understand why they lumped dashboard edit capabilities into view all data.
Yeah,
kinda
that's why
apples and
I'm-
oranges.
I'm leaning towards starting another, like a new idea, saying, I know you said you don't have to have view all data anymore, but you do. So,
I think you should title it, I have a better idea.
yeah, exactly. Well, okay. So for now, I'm either going to reassign it to her or I'll have her clone it. But I just wanted to make sure there wasn't something super obvious I was missing that I hadn't thought of.
And you've got and you're using the latest sharing for report and dashboard folders, right?
Yes.
Okay, and Brian also posted a thing in the chat that
Yeah, I'm
Well, but
reading
if
through
the
that right
reason
now.
is, if the reason is because then they'd be able to access data they shouldn't be able to, I guess I feel like if they have access to the folders where the reports and dashboards are being stored, doesn't that limit them from accessing data they shouldn't be able to?
Well, so yes and no. And actually, now that I think through this, it kind of actually makes sense why it is lumped under view all data, because technically reports and dashboards are elements of data. They have their own unique record ID assigned to them, which
Right.
then underlying of what data can you access, and you get into profile level security, blah, blah, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Still doesn't make it okay. But,
Right.
um,
Gotta be something else. Well, I'll keep digging into it. It makes me feel a little bit better that it wasn't something that was like, duh.
yeah, I think you're stuck in a weird place with this one.
Right. Okay, I'll keep on keeping on. Thank y'all.
you're welcome. Yeah, it's all right. All right. Let's see. All right. So no more questions in the chat that I see. We're right at about time here. I'll ask if there's any more questions here. If not, we can end it. But we've got a couple minutes left. If anybody else has any questions. All right. I'm gonna take silences. Everybody's good. Got something in the chat. Awesome. All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. New MVPs, appreciate you joining, jumping in, helping out, and everybody for asking questions. Again, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube, give us any feedback you have on the office hours. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. So everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks all.
Thank you.